most books which talk about future, especially the technological aspects, they fall into a trap where they start describing unlikely possibilities. But this book which we're going to discuss today is not actually mired with unlikely possibilities, but rather raises serious questions, not in terms of technology, but for politics and governance. Hi, this is Gautam, and today we have an interesting book to review, Future Politics by Jamie Susskind. First, the book seems real and grounded, principally because it deals with what could be or reasonable problems of governance and politics with the evolution of digital systems. So the first few chapters actually lay proper groundwork in the sense of he starts defining, the author describes the exponential growth in technology, how digital systems have evolved, how artificial intelligence and machine learning are quite different from the earlier phases of technological revolution or evolution which you've seen. So the book, after explaining the evolution of the digital systems, then does not directly take you to politics and governance, but rather addresses two fundamental concepts. First is power, and second is about the nature of systems themselves. Now, I do know that by this time you might have actually analyzed, well, you're talking about a global positioning system that when we start using mobile applications, our data is getting tracked and, we stay, especially if you're watching this video, there are very good chances that you use a mobile phone, a smartphone quite frequently. Well, yes, of course, those are segments of the book. But how the book is different is about the aspects it is dealt with. Well, he talks about how technology has become more immersive, technology has become more intrusive as such. If we think about it one way or the other, most of what is happening in an individual's life is getting recorded. Now, at the same time, it has become more sensitive. Now, when we say sensitive, we are talking about devices which monitor everything we do, starting from smart watches which take details of our blood pressure and heart rate, even when you do not want them to. So all these aspects make sure that real life for a good segment of individuals, at least speaking globally, of course, could be a minor segment, is getting monitored 24/7. Now, the second aspect, which I think is the most important thing which the author has done, is discussing power. Now, when you discuss about power, that is a connecting part between the technology and what lies for politics. Because when he talks about power, he discusses different methods in which power can be experienced, power can be expressed. Well, for this, he tries to draw comparisons between how they are exercised without the use of digital systems and how digital systems change. For example, let's take the simplest way of exercising power is through force. You force someone to do it. Now, if or at least it goes to a sense of prevention. So he compares a normal lock, which might prevent a thief from not stealing a house, and it's quite different from a digital lock, because if the thief uses force, there are very good chances that he might break the law. And once he breaks the law, until and unless the police is well equipped to track him down and then properly produce him towards court, there are chances that he might actually escape punishment. But that is not true when it comes to your digital systems. If you do not know the password, or if you do not know or if you do not honor the contract, if it is a software which works based on blockchain technology, then it's not possible to break the lock at all. Of course, you can talk about hacking, but again, it's not that every individual is a hacker. So he talks about how force varies. Second is about scrutiny. Now, with more and more usage of, right now I'm looking into a camera, and it's very much possible that the device which you're holding to actually has a camera. So how scrutiny has changed with the evolution of digital systems, and not just about visuals. So let's say that a government wants to know, not just government, any private sector company, any tech giant wants to know, wants to track about your movements. Now, they do know about movement, so scrutiny plays a very important role. There is information regarding which is getting digitized regarding movements, regarding bank records, regarding health details, which might actually give you more information regarding insurance companies. So scrutiny has become different. Before that, it's not possible. It was not very easy for government to scrutinize. So first we have force and we have scrutiny. Third is perceptions control. Now, if algorithms and machines become very powerful, and I'm pretty sure you would have come across this concept called as echo chamber, where if one individual is there, and let's say I'm using YouTube or Facebook, depending upon my watch history and my preferences, the same types of videos, the same types of pages gets reinforced to me again and again. So by controlling or showing the particular individual the same phenomenon, he might actually think that the world thinks or the world behaves like him. So you have perception control, where a private concern or the government can actually force an individual, or not intentionally, can actually describe or distort his vision depending on the information which they feed him. And finally, we have the division between public power and then private power. Now, once the foundation for force and the strength of digital systems has been established, then the author proceeds to go ahead with the concept of liberty. So he goes to the foundation of what exactly liberty is, different types of liberty, and how the concept of liberty will have to change when you come to the modern world. Like today, based on the topic of discussion in European Union, now we are talking about the right to forget, that if an individual decides that his digital footprint for in a particular application or a social media network, he should have the right so that his data has to be erased. So at the same time, we are talking about when data is getting collected from the individual, is it being done with his consent or without his consent? Of course, the tech companies will always argue that when an individual downloads a particular application, he accepts the terms and conditions. Now, he writes a witty paragraph stating that if one reads all the terms and conditions when he downloads applications, then you need to spend more than 75 or 76 days per year, so which is virtually impossible. So he talks about how the concept of liberty will change once the digital systems become enhanced, which we already are. But we are talking about bringing more and more population into the fold. So the concept of liberty is explored in detail. Next, he talks about the harm principle. Of course, harm principle is more of a subset, but I was more interested in that because see, there are certain issues for which you really don't have right and wrong answers. For example, see this paragraph which I'm going to read right now is not under the discussion of harm principle. It's there in the introduction, but it's about harming individual. For example, let's take this paragraph. A few years from now, for instance, virtual reality systems will enable behavior that was previously the stuff of science fiction, including the possibility of, pay attention, virtual sex using platforms capable of simulating human sexual activity. Fine. This raises some interesting questions. Should it be legally permissible to have virtual sex with a digital partner designed to look like a real life person, a celebrity, say, without that person's knowledge or consent? People are likely to have strong feelings about this. What about having virtual sex with the virtual incarnation of your best friend's husband? It would seem wrong for the law to allow this, but you might argue that what you get up to in the privacy of your own virtual world without harming anybody is no business of anyone else, let alone the law. So, under this concept of liberty itself, he discusses that, certain activities may not be harmful. So, for example, you take murder, it is against the law, but certain activities, even though they're not harmful, they can be immoral. So digital systems actually give you immense possibilities where you can pursue certain desires and your aspirations which are against morality and ethics. The discussion evolves further. He talks about the digital divide, which is very much prevalent in third world countries. You take India, for example. The amount of the percentage of population which has access to internet and the frequent users of internet is very minimal compared to the larger population. So not just in India, many countries in Asia and Africa actually have this problem. So people who have access to digital tech, they live in a completely different world, and their availability and their capacity to avail services will be much more higher compared to the ones who are not connected. So you have this variation, And at the same time, he talks about what can happen to wealth as such. So when different types of technology develops, a certain type of employment will definitely experience more more returns. They'll definitely get paid more. At the same time, good number of sectors might become unemployed, which is a result of automation, which I believe is more of a general topic of discussion. But since he deals with politics, you cannot leave unemployment, so he dedicates few chapters for that too. So if you ask me, does the book provide solutions? No. The beauty of the book is that it structures all the arguments really well, and it actually opens several possibilities or several themes for which there is no conclusion at all. Because what has happened in the last 15 years or so is that the technology has grown so fast that lawmakers simply are not keeping pace with that. Like, I'm pretty sure you'd have watched videos where lawmakers question, the CEO of companies, of tech giants, of these large social media networks and all that, and you would find that most of the questions posed are actually not so relevant in terms of technology. Very few are actually in line, because the people who are using this technology are in the younger segment, and the segment of population who are the legislators and lawmakers, they are at a different age spectrum. So understanding the issue and then governing itself are two different things, and we have a wide age gap in this particular area. So how should lawmakers look into this? That's the question itself. So the success of the book is that it introduces different possibilities and themes which should be looked up by the government, not just the government, but by the individuals too. That's it for today's review. So if you're interested in exploring the governmental and political perspective associated with digital technology, this book is for you.